All right. So, Ariane, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Emmanuel. How are you doing, Emmanuel?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. So today we're going to be discussing some very important topics, and I'll be asking you these questions to take your perspective, your opinions on these very important issues, and
Mhm.
that's just basically how this session is going to go. All right.
Okay, sure.
All right. So right off, we're starting with the first question. So many Nigerians don't trust the government and believe corruption is widespread. So, from your
Mhm.
perspective, I want to ask how, from your own country, what is the reception, what is the feel, of your people towards your government, and why is that? Why is it the way it is?
Thank you so much for that question, Emmanuel.
Okay.
Coming from Philippines and coming from the Southeast Asian region, and from all the news that
Yeah.
is all the news that we are grasping today since the start of 2026. So and from all the experience, um I do feel that Southeast Asian region and African region, maybe specifically for Nigeria, has the same experience wherein we have inherited centralized and extractive administrative model from the Western countries, or from those countries who have colonized us before, hundred years ago. And we see that this model of governance where authority flowed from top to bottom, or top down. And we have also um, we have also passed down this kind of framework where public finance was opaque, it's not transparent, and this kind of legacy persisted, even after the independence. And we see this model both in Africa and Southeast Asian region. And this was reinforced during um, authoritarian rule, or maybe military rule in authoritarian rule in Southeast Asia, or maybe military rule in your region or in Nigeria. So living brutal institutions, or what I mean is that citizens still experience distance in unaccountable government, or what I in other words, unresponsive type of governance. And today, trust is further eroded when high profile corruption probes appear politicized, and prosecution collapse, or asset recovery process lack clarity. And there are also recent commentaries where and reports that highlights recurring issues. Um, when it comes to investigation, there are selective investigation, media trials, and weak case management. This is also happening in the Philippines, and I am sure that this is also happening in some other um, ASEAN countries like Indonesia. And wherein our institutions that are supposed to be strong is or democratically strong, or when I say strongs, that supposed to be holding accountable to our public officers, or to the public office,
Yeah.
is it's
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
right.
You have
And
a lot. You have a lot to say about that topic. So
exactly.
I'll go to the next one so that we can really come back to that particular one and
All right,
dissect it
okay.
properly. All right. So for these next few questions, I will just want you to you know give more will I say precise answers from your perspectives. They would not really require you to go too in depth. Although they are the ones that I've asked you that will require that. Okay, um, so a lot of people feel politicians go into office mainly
Mm,
to enrich themselves. So how do you
exactly.
think laws and government systems could actually change?
Um, I if I will answer directly. So first of all, strengthen institutions, enforce real-time fiscal transparency, have have um open book wherein all the citizens can have access to public documents. One of the public documents that are important is um, finance documents or maybe open treasury, that there can be a centralized source wherein every every file can be seen by the citizens or by the concerned or by the interested parties or by the interested stakeholders. And what else? Second is to modernize asset declarations. Um, this would be applicable for the public officials. So in the Philippines, we have SALN. So public officers or public officials or the high officials is required to declare their SALN, meaning they are declaring their assets, all their assets, so that um, uh, all the people will see their where the money is going, or they may link them to beneficial ownership data for public, or if they will see, public contractors or um, that are in conflict, or if there may be unexplained wealth, so that the people can trace. And third, of course, there should be um, sanctions, sanctions is that can be that can be imposed by the judiciary. And of course, the judiciary should be impartial when it comes to this sanctions, because this is the funds of the people. This is the taxpayers' money. And when we say corruption, it involves the money of the people. And when in the Philippines, the talk about corruption is that we're, the high officials are stealing the money. So we need to, they need to be accountable on these things. And corruptions cases with day-to-day trials and tighter adjournment rules should be strengthened. And this should be, of course, complemented by specialized finance crime courts. And I do hope this, maybe this cannot be abrupt changes, but slowly there can be a gradual changes when it comes to these steps. And you know you know that the trust of the people can be there again, or if there's any lack of it, there the gaps may be um closed. I hope it
Okay,
answers the
brilliant.
questions.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Okay, the next follow-up question from that. So politicians often make promises during campaigns, but
Mhm.
forget them after winning the elections. How do you think the law could hold them accountable for their promises?
Well, that's a good question. Uh, in the Philippines, there we call it a platform. So for decades or for years, Filipinos has been so used that all the promises will fail. So I do hope that Nigeria doesn't experience the same. But
Oh, we do a lot.
oh,
We do, we do.
I'm so sorry for that. But I do I strongly believe that um a genuine politician or a genuine candidate will have this, a strong political will. And but with the- you know but But when we say if we wanted to regulate this kind of, if we wanted to regulate wherein those platforms should be fulfilled, I think all what I have in mind is all candidates should file or register a measurable manifestos with baseline and annual targets before ballots are printed. I think that would be, that makes sense. And, as for me, who has projects, just like recently, we have this kind of monitoring, and we are required to do that. And I feel like our politicians should have the same as well, um, because so aside from they will file a registered measurable manifestos with a baseline or with all the platform that they have, they also should have, a monitoring, like a big public monitoring sheet wherein they will all, or all the citizens who has, who has trusted that this certain candidate will fulfill their promises. So everyone will see that, oh, this candidate has, fulfilled each bullet points on their platforms. And um,
Actually,
maybe
that's brilliant.
maybe we could also add like manifesto implementation report. I think that would be a good idea, right? Like that um wherein they will all see or they will table all the programs that they promised, and along with it is the budget that they will that they are potentially can implement along with the program. So I think that's a good safeguard for that's a good another safeguard. If you have I'm not sure if Nigeria has um commissions on elections, or if you have a ministry on elections, that would be a great.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. That would be,
But
a
still, they
great.
made their promises.
Exactly. That would be a great additional safeguard, so that all the citizens will be, or all the stakeholders will be involved, and they will see each bullet points of the platforms that they promised to be fulfilled, or if not, then not, right? I think this, of course, will reframe how politics from personality to performance. In the Philippines, politics is very personal. I mean, if you are popular, then majority of the Filipinos will favor you on the elections. I'm not sure if that's how as well in Nigeria, but I do think that politics should be more into, more
Yeah,
into action rather than
yeah,
into personality, or rather than
yeah,
those who were,
yeah.
popular. Because
Uh, yes,
popularity
very true, very true.
popularity
Yes.
doesn't really address social challenges, but it's
Okay.
more on the performance, or it's more on the political will, the candidate or of the public official or the politician.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll go
Hello.
straight to the next question. So lawmakers
Mm-hmm.
and persons in the parliament, they receive money for constituency projects, so many projects, but the citizens really know how it is spent. How that money
Exactly.
actually moves, where it moves to, what it does. So how do you think the spending can be made more fully open and easier to track?
Mm, um, I think that's a very important question, especially if you really want to see change, or if you really want to see transparency on how the government is spending the taxpayers' money. And I mean, it's your money. It's your money, by the way. And this money is should be felt. We should feel the benefits of the tax that we are paying. So um I do s- um so I've done like a few research earlier before this interview. So public spending, of course, has deep roots, but the tools to end it exist. So every constituency project should have no couple project page. I don't know if my research is right, but
That's
but I do
perfect.
hope
That's
this is
perfect.
okay. So this should contain the appropriations references and contracting methods. If you do contractual methods and beneficial owner, the contractor or contract sum or BOQ disbursement milestones, or maybe GPS coordinates and timestamp photo video evidence. And of course, there should be treasury payments. Treasury payments should be conditional on the completeness and the freshness of the page. So I've also had discovered earlier Traka. Nigeria has a Traka. This enables citizens to verify in communities and upload feedback. I hope this is correct. I hope what my research is correct. Which MDAs must address in quarterly utilization report. So I do hope this kind of framework may bridge the gap between um, between you guys have Abuja and the ward level, and this would lessen duplication or misdirection or misappropriation of the budgets. So I do hope it made sense, that kind of framework.
Yes, it does.
This
It does actually. I think that's
is
perfect. You've answered it. You've answered it. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay,
okay.
following up on
Mhm.
that, at the moment there are so many laws that are being made, and in the process of making these laws, a lot of the persons who are making these laws, in the parliament, they may not actually understand how these laws affect the persons at the grassroots. They're in their cars, in their houses. A lot of these things don't actually directly affect them. So the question I
Mhm.
want to ask you: how can Nigerians, participate more in the process, or how, or if it's been done in that manner, in the Philippines, how can lawmaking become easier for ordinary people to follow and contribute to?
I love that question, because as someone who is a youth leader and a policy advocate and also a law student or a Juris Doctor candidate in the Philippines, um, and this also resonates with a lot of the youth leaders in ASEAN countries, wherein we see a lot of corruption, we see a lot of injustice, we see a lot of the effects of corruption, and to the point wherein the corruption has cost the lives of the people for decades. And we are just only awakening in this kind of system wherein we thought in our mind that all the process has all the government process is stable and strong, but then we see that we see that um it's the opposite. And we see that it's not truly benefiting, or it's not genuinely benefiting the people. So in here in the Philippines, we do a lot of coalitions wherein, and we do also lobbying, and lobbying, we're lobbying with a lot of, with a lot of uh, public officers that has the same wavelength with us. Just like previously in 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 our recently in our project, we invited some public officials from Naga City. Naga City is awarded as the Center for Good Governance in the Philippines. So it's an experience for me wherein we have, we have the same this kind of, wavelength wherein we wanted to see real change, and we wanted to end the cycle wherein the citizens is always on the losing ends, wherein the people will always be corrupted, or will always be or wherein the livelihoods will be stolen because of corruption. So there, I have seen, and it's one, I think it's one of the best, one of the best things wherein the local government can open their can open their you know can open their seats for different stakeholders, so that there will be different representations, maybe someone from women, someone from farmers, someone from experts in the field like doctors or lawyers, so that every voices will be heard. um I know it's not I know it won't be easy because um I'm sure I'm pretty sure that um they I'm pretty sure that they I mean I don't want to be I don't want to be bad on this, but I'm pretty sure that um those people in power, they're preserving the power that they have, but you know but with right mechanism from coming from the stakeholders, it would be somehow a good way to lobby or to push for some advocacies or for policies that you really wanted to, and really wanted to see, or you really wanted to reflect to the lives, or it's in the lives of the people. So I think one thing is to, open, or talk to the local government authorities, and
Yes.
somehow
Yeah.
be direct, be
Yeah.
direct,
I get.
um,
I
spec-
understand. Yes.
specify the specify
Yes.
things that you wanted to push,
Yes.
and I mean,
Yes. Yes.
maybe
Yes.
if
Your point is very valid. Yes.
you have, an evidence based data wherein
Yes.
you can wherein if you're gonna have um negotiations, or wherein you're gonna have a dialogue with the public officials, so they will see, or they will see the 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 effects, or the current status of the community, or of the community that you wanted to help. It's really important that you're backed up with the substantial data, or it's very important that you have this evidence based data, and it's not because you just wanted to push something, but because there are numbers that, and they are affected, and communities are affected. So it's really important that you back up with these documents. Hello? Hello? Hello, Emmanuel. Are you still
Yes,
there?
are you there?
Okay. Yeah. I think I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did perfectly. Sorry, just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to ask, before we go on our break, I want to discuss three particular questions. And these questions, um, these are just one sentence answers. So I want you to just give one sentence. All right. All right. Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready.
So the first one. So journalists and activists who expose corruption sometimes face threats or legal pressure or even economic pressure. So how important can this, or how do you think their freedom to express themselves, share their findings, how do you think this can be better protected in both the Philippines and in Nigeria? Just one sentence.
Sorry for long answers. But in the Philippines, we are pushing for Whistleblower Protection Act. I would, it would be also good if Nigeria would also pass Whistleblower Protection Act. And this would guarantee protection and anti-retaliation and safety
We
for
have
the,
whistleblower protection laws. Oh. We have those laws.
okay.
Yes, but their level of I mean, how effective they are, it's questionable. So, do you have any, in one sentence, any practical steps that could help improve that?
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry for that. I am so sorry for that. Um, Given that you have a Whistle Protection Act, I do, I do believe, that government leaders should acknowledge this law and they should implement and they should enforce this law. Codifying it may not may be lacking, but there should be a strengthened, a strong enforcement by the authorities, because I because when you pass a law, of course it's automatic that there's a fund coming from it, and I am sure that they can enforce it, and and you have all the you have all the you have all the tools and you have all the mechanisms, to renew this momentum and make this tool reliable for citizens and public servants who see those wrongdoings. So it should be,
Yeah,
reinforcement
that's it.
and
Yes. Yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect. That was perfect.
thank you.
Um, so we will be taking our break now,
Oh,
and
okay.
we'll be taking our break now. When we come back, we're going to be discussing more questions and taking more perspectives on these very important issues concerning, governance and how, these countries are being run. So thank you so much, Ariane.
Thank you. Okay, see
Thank
you later. See you later.
you. All right, so Ariane, welcome back.
Hello, hi, Emmanuel.
All right, so we're going to be going straight into it, and this time we're going to take a different style of this interview. We're going to be having it's more of a conversation style. So let's just get right into it. So Nigeria borrows very heavily, but citizens rarely see how these loans improve their lives. So the question there is, how should the government loans be managed properly? So let's talk. So
Okay.
how has the Philippines, does the Philippines have any debt?
Okay, so let me tell you, in the Philippines right now, we have an overall debt, you know, a state debt of almost 984 US dollars, billion US dollars.
Oh wow, that is
And
crazy.
it's crazy, right? Because those, those, that big debt, we cannot like literally fill the program or any benefits that those debts was able to manage. We cannot be able to feel it as a citizen. Now, I wanted to know, how about Nigeria? Like, whenever Nigerian
Yeah,
government borrows money from a foreign,
yeah,
from a foreign country, does Nigeria also feels, the benefits, or if there's any program that was
yeah.
implemented by the government? Like,
Actually, no, we don't. Yeah, sorry, continue. Okay, so actually, we don't even, the thing, when they borrow, when the government borrows money, basically, all we hear about is that, oh, they borrowed such and such amount of money, and that's all. That's the end of it. That's literally the end of it. You if you somehow manage to figure out where that money goes, there's even a less likelihood that you would have any benefits in such money. So yeah, I believe that it's a major issue, Nigeria speaking, borrowing money. I think we've borrowed from the UK. I'm pretty sure we've borrowed from a lot of places now. And I think the total debt for Nigeria is about 98 billion
oh my
US
gosh,
dollars. So that
98
words
billion dollars? Oh my god.
billion. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
But
gosh.
it's still not as much as the
Okay.
Philippines. I mean, 984 billion. That's almost a trillion US.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
like 1%.
That is
Oh my god.
that is for last year only. Is that correct? Last year only? Like 2025 alone?
No, no. I think that's cumulative, though. I don't think that that's just for last year. That's cumulative.
Oh, cumulative.
That
Okay.
like total, yeah, total public debt is about 99.65 billion as at June 30th of 2025.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, it's a really big issue.
No. Ay, oh my gosh. Actually,
Yeah,
let me tell you
yeah,
also, when during the pandemic, right? So during the pandemic, the
yeah.
Philippines again, borrowed money. I think that's a billion, another billion for the pandemic reliefs alone. So I think that
Oh
was
my god.
for for the vaccines and the medical facilities that is needed. But the thing is, I think the whole world knows that during the pandemic, Philippines was one of the most strict when it comes to medical, or when it comes to quarantine, right? We almost had a total quarantine. We just call it in another term, like ECQ. And what we have during those times, what we have during those times was that we had a lot of of uniformed personnel outside our cities or within the city. But basically, when you reflect on the medical aspect, or when you heard on how the government, or for the pandemic relief, or when you talk about the how the government wanted to elevate the pandemic situation. The only thing, the
But
only
the whole pandemic,
because all the health
the whole
facilities
pandemic was
here
used.
is all
Yeah,
full. Like you would choose not to go to a hospital, because if you go to a hospital, one thing that you would see is there's a lot of people, and you won't have any bed at all. What I mean is you cannot be assisted anymore by the care providers, or by the medical, by the medical people. Like,
yeah.
there's the only
So
thing you
so
can
what
have
then was that money?
is the
The
vaccine
1 billion. What then was the
alone.
money? Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, you cannot really feel like whatever the thing that was borrowed. Like, it doesn't really reflect, in each citizen. So, um, it's quite frustrating. It's also quite
yeah.
uh it's quite not
So
it's quite you cannot comprehend itself.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah. It's
like
a
you
lot.
don't get the logic anymore. Like, you
Yeah.
have already borrowed a lot of money, yet you cannot extend help to a lot of, to cannot extend help, or you cannot allocate, the money to the directly to the relevant agency, such as Department of Health here in the Philippines. Like,
So
I
do you
mean,
want
you
to feel
like just I also know, like, in other countries here in Southeast Asia, like, they have also um what like they've also experienced quite the same, but not totally in that kind of level, where almost total restriction during pandemic. So that's just one of the examples. Another thing is that we can talk about, with regards to, if we reflect on the borrowed money, right? Like, infrastructure projects. Like, one thing now is the infrastructure projects here in the Philippines. So, if news, you read all the corruptions.
okay?
I think,
Okay, wait. Let's talk solutions. Let's talk solutions. One particular way, it seems like both in the Philippines and Nigeria, this um can you hear me, Aria?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I said let's talk solutions. So if this issue
So,
is both in Nigeria and the Philippines, yes, sure, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead.
so if we talk about solutions, we have, in the Philippines, the youth leaders and the other experts in the academia are pushing for a freedom of information. So, freedom of information means that the public documents would be accessible to all the stakeholders that are interested to, or that wants to know how the budget is allocated to different programs, to different projects, or to different government initiatives. So, I also wanted to know how Nigeria, if you have as well that kind of, freedom of information, wherein, the citizens can access the the budget that is spent for different programs. But,
You know, yeah.
that would be a really great different, that would be a turnaround for turnaround for transparency and for accountability as well. Because if because for me, as someone who is, interested how taxpayers' money is spent. Like if you would know, right? Like if you would know how your money is spent, like it would be a relief for you. Like it would be a relief. Like, oh, my money was spent here. Like, what are your thoughts right now?
Okay, so basically, yeah, Nigeria does have something very similar. We do have access to, the national budget and, its allocation, but I feel like I feel like most countries actually have that. So the issue wouldn't really be whether the citizens have access, though it's a brilliant point, but the issue wouldn't really be whether the citizens have access to how the budget is being allocated on paper, because you can actually have access to it on paper. But the main problem is that even when these things are being allocated, what actually happens in practice isn't the reality of what is written on paper. What is written on paper can look so beautiful, look so good, everything is well calculated. But then in the reality, you'll be surprised that up to 90% of the actual budget isn't even going into what it was allocated for. So, one thing I might perceive that might be helpful is something more along the lines of a sort of people-centered or citizen-centered um, regulation agency. Now, this is not something that has been done in any country before, but it's something that I feel might, revolutionize this particular aspect of governance in countries of the world, where the budget that has been allocated or the monies that have been allocated to particular projects are regulated by citizens. So how would this work? Basically, with the advent of the internet and with the advent of the access that the internet has given a lot of us, a lot of people, um, it could be utilized in the sense that when a particular budget has been passed, the disbursement of those funds can be decentralized in such a way that pockets of citizens would have the say on whether or not this money should be released. So it would go like this. Let me just give an example. Let's say now the nation has allocated 1 billion to education, right? The education sector. Then as the year runs, as the days go by, um at each point in time, at each timeline, or at each point in time, before the money is released, there is a sort of poll that is sent out through a certified government website, where the citizens can, vote on whether or not there has been a radical transformation or a good utilization of this particular amount of money in this sector. So that poll would go out to principals of schools, students, parents who have kids in government schools and even private schools, persons who are affected by that sector, and they would be the ones who would have access to vote on that particular poll. So the results of that poll will now determine if that money should continue to be disbursed or should even be disbursed or should be disbursed to a certain kind of person or not that person anymore. So there should be a more fluid approach to how this money moves. And the fluidity should be dependent on the people who are actually either benefiting or going to suffer from the consequences of the lack of this money being used properly. So I think that might actually help things. That's it's a long shot. It's a long shot of an idea, but in a utopian world, I feel like that might help.
I actually love the idea. It's giving um access, or it's giving participatory effect for the for the citizens, not just not just publishing the data, or not just publishing
Exactly.
the allocated
Exactly.
budgets. So I think in that manner, that the recommendations or the suggestion that you have is that it's you, they don't have they not only have the view or the access, but they can actually have they can actually have a voice, or they can actually recommend something on, or they can actually, maybe, they can lobby on how much budget that they need on a certain
Yeah.
community, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
It's yeah, it's one of the good recommendations. It's actually good because it's you're giving access, or giving seats, or giving a representation for for different stakeholders, that they can like recommended budget
Yes.
for
Okay.
a certain
So I want
year.
us to. Sorry. Yes. Yes. I want us to do something. So this gonna take turns answering it. So um I am going to. Okay, let me just ask the question first. So the question is, if Nigeria wants to become one of the best governed countries in Africa within the next 5 to 10 years, what are the three most important reforms that must happen first? Okay, so how we're going to answer this, right? I am going to mention a particular sector or a particular major issue that Nigeria has. Then you're gonna give an answer in, or a solution in, maybe one or two sentences, but it's going to be very brief. Then you will also give me an issue that the Philippines is, going through, and then I'm going to give a solution in one or two very brief sentences. So we'll do that for. Well, let's just do it the first time, and we'll see how it goes. Let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so for me, let me give you the one issue that I feel. There is an issue of security in Nigeria. There is an issue of insecurity in Nigeria. It's a big one, and it is very glaring. Just a few days ago, in a state in Nigeria called, I think, was it Kano or Kwara State? I think, yes. Um, People were, what is the word? Okay, a number of people were, you know, they were they were I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I can. Okay, they were killed. Yes, they were. And about 170, almost 200, you know. And this is something that isn't, it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third or fourth or fifth. I mean, this happens, it happens, and it's happened so much now that it doesn't even feel like news. Honestly, it doesn't even feel like news. I mean, I went to, going to um, a service, you meet with your friends and everything like that. You don't even hear anyone talking about it. That's because it's not even news anymore. It's not considered news anymore, and that's a big problem. So, what possible solution do you think that Nigeria could employ to tackle this insecurity issue?
I think I was lost. I was kind of lost. Can you make it? Can you like somehow make it? Uh,
Oh my god. Okay, I, I
I
will
was lost.
just issue
So
the
you were saying like
okay, yeah.
on the religious side.
The issue is insecurity. No, 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 insecurity. The issue is insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, in terms of, ban and armed gunmen, persons who don't care about lives, they don't care about property, they just want to, impose their ideals and their ideologies whomsoever they please, and these persons are armed and they are very violent and they roam around, and it doesn't seem like the government is really doing anything. They look like they are, but to be very honest, things like this shouldn't even happen on this scale. And 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 it would take about a day or 2 or 3 days before there would be any sort of action from the government. I don't believe that that's the way it should be. I believe that if something like that is even about to happen, ideally the government should be able to take steps. So what possible solutions do you think could, make this kind of situation, be reduced or prevented?
Well, actually, the situation that you have right now in Nigeria is almost the same in the Philippines, wherein the not majority, but there are certain certain group of people wherein um, eventually eventually they think that they, they think that a certain societal challenges will just pass, just automatically, or just will just resolve itself automatically or naturally. It seems like um the it seems like as if there would be a certain magic transformation that will happen that would resolve the challenge within the society. But um what you're saying is, if you're talking about solutions, one of the biggest things that we can do, as an active citizen, or someone who is an advocate, or someone who is privileged to do its part in the community, is to take an action and bring awareness on a certain on this certain issue that you wanted to make them aware. For example, corruption. So a lot of people in the Philippines has been numb on the issue of corruption because of the decades that was because of the decades that is happening. Eventually it become a norm. Corruption in the government has become a norm. It has become a culture because of because of people think that the people in the authority cannot be um, cannot be moved, or you cannot question the authority of the public officers. But the reality is that the but the reality is that, of course, the public officers, or the public authorities, or the public officials, has this accountability to the citizens, and they have this big responsibility to the citizens. And when you're talking about the system that has been embedded for for a long period of time, and it would really be hard, would really be hard to spark a change, and not unless you have a not unless you have a political will, or not unless if you have the, the courage, or a lot of people that believes that this system that we are in right now is not really working. I mean, if you get because
Yeah, I
I mean,
get you.
exactly right, because for the longest time, um we
Briefly, this was two
for
sentences.
generations we thought,
Yeah.
and we thought that the system that we have right now would be working for the longest time. And the older generations were telling us that there will be a good future for the next generation. We were, but eventually the new generation would be burdened with a heavy responsibility. Just for example, climate change, just for example, the burden of corruption, the burden of the rotten system that was passed through, that will be passed to passed to the next generation. So it would be um
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
previous generation was settled that this system would work in for the for the future generation, but it eventually it did not. And the what we have right now is on the potential verge of being broken, because it's not really working. And it's not really I mean, it's not giving equality for all. It's not giving opportunities for everyone. It's not giving benefit for everyone. And for example in education. So when you talk about benefits in education, not everyone is being given an access to education because of some underlying circumstances, because of the
Yeah.
background of those, because of the
Yeah.
background, different backgrounds. And
Yeah.
for some, unfortunately, they're being excluded because of some circumstances, like this child is not
Ari.
from
Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
this child is not from this place. This child did
Yes.
not grow up from an echelon society, or this child is not born from the middle class. This child is just born from a rural society or from a rural province. So you will see that there's this disparity of
Yeah.
different social class, and eventually the lowest class will be excluded because the system
Yes.
is not integrated for them, or it's not built for them. So
Okay.
we the I think awareness would be really the best solution for every societal challenges that we have. And it would be better if we can, include the marginalized to society, the marginalized stakeholder, wherein they can actually voice out their concerns, and they would actually um, you know, uh, be represented, and so that we can have responsive policy um, from from the
Okay.
genuine friends.
Okay. That's
I do hope. I
that's
wanted to
fine.
say genuine politicians.
It's it's fine. Okay, fine. All right. So thank you so much. So your turn. So you give me an issue that is a major issue in the Philippines, and I'll propose a solution in a very few sentences.
So yeah, I think the one biggest issue right now in the Philippines is again corruption. So I one of the I think best solution for corruption is to really have an
No, no. I will give the solution. You no. It's my turn now. So you bring the issue, then I will now propose a
you will give the
solution.
solution, right? Okay. So given the international news, so the Philippines, one of the major issues right now is corruption. So what do you think would be the best solution for the Philippines, to or your recommendation for the Philippine government?
Okay. So for my recommendation for the issue of corruption, you know, there are various categories of corruption, but I want to imagine that you are talking about financial, most especially, where perhaps maybe the monies that are supposed to be things are not being used for that, for what they're supposed to, and maybe perhaps they are entering into, the pockets of some particular individuals. So, one particular way to solve that issue of corruption is to provide a more transparent framework for the activities that go on in your government. So, for instance, most most times, 99 out of 100 times, or even 100 times out of 100, corruption happens in the darkness. It happens where no one is looking. It happens where there is no real scrutiny, there is no real transparency, there are no real checks placed to, you know, to attack or to prevent this type of corruption. So the only solution would be to create a more transparent framework. Now, how do you create that framework? There are so many ways. We already mentioned, the initiative I gave earlier on is also something that could be applied here, where the citizens are allowed to be more involved, in the things that go on in your government. Every move, every step before it's made, it should be it should be cross-checked by the entire city, by the entire population. And the way to do that is through, the internet has given everyone that sort of access to be able to check these things. you know Let there be, and secondly, let there be more periodic, let there be more rollovers of politicians. One reason why a lot of politicians are able to, perpetrate certain kinds of heinous things, and engage in certain corrupt acts is because of the length of time they spend in office. You know, if they regularly go through assessments, both financial assessments, assessment based on, how much they have been able to accomplish based off of the promises they made, before entering office, assessment based on their finances, their accounts, what have they acquired. These assessments should be done by independent bodies from the government completely. These assessments would then be the yards we use to elect and re-elect, and these elections should be conducted at more regular intervals, such that there will not be enough time for someone to come in and actually perpetrate, actually engage in corrupt practices. There won't just be time. There won't just be time. So I think that is what I believe would be a very, very strong help for that issue of corruption. So what do you think?
Well, that's one of a great suggestion. So I do I would also recommend that. I would recommend that for some, for the for the that'll be a great one suggestion. Yes. And I feel um given the structure, because the structure is in the Philippines is very rigid and very technocratic, and I I have uh I have observed that this is the structure was always in favor of the ruling class. So um I do think your suggestion would really be something would really be helpful for for someone here in the Philippines, and for that would be something beneficial for system that has been rigid for a very long time.
All right. Thank you. That's good to hear. So, this point, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I think at this point we've been able to, engage in various questions. We've provided so many different aspects and sides to very critical issues that both go on in Nigeria and the Philippines, and we have given ourselves both very, very critical suggestions that, if employed by our countries, I think there would be a lot of improvements in various aspects. At this point, I think we can call it a day. Ariane, thank you so much for coming on the set for Inside Us. Thank you so much. for your insights and perspectives, and very, very, very insightful.
Yours
Thank you
too,
so
your
much.
answer would be, I can recommend your answers to the politicians, the local politicians that. Uh, for real.
I love that.
I mean, I
All right.
really love the discussion that we have like on this second part because um actually we can also talk about a lot of safeguards, democratic safeguards, just to combat
Yes.
the corruption. I and
Yes.
I think I would base from your I would base from the experience that you were that Nigeria is having from the discussion that we have. I feel like both countries is
Yeah.
dealing with the same issue, which is corruption, and corruption has been
Yeah.
affecting directly uh, each individuals. If you can see, um, I think would I would add another if I can, if we still have a lot of time, when it
No,
comes to if
we'll
we,
have to create a separate part for that.
should we have a part two for this?
So we should. We should.
So
Thank you so much.
if you can see, Philippines is the number one vulnerable country when it comes to uh, vulnerable country